Good morning! Sitting in for the Castros, I'm Pauline Verzosa.
I'm Riza Diaz.
We bring you the news and the views that make you think.
And sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
The Senate has yet to act on the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte, with the 19th Congress set to adjourn in just a few days.
Police Major General Nicolas Torre III vows to cleanse the ranks as he takes the helm of the Philippine National Police.
The Health Department urges a national emergency declaration as HIV cases in the Philippines surge to a global high.
The Alas Pilipinas men's team pays a courtesy visit to the Philippine consulate in New York on Monday. They also appear on a billboard in Times Square.
Now, with just days left before adjournment, the Senate has yet to tackle the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. And now, questions loom over whether the next Congress can still take it up. Here's the report.
The articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte were supposed to be presented yesterday, June 2, but it has been pushed back to June 11. That's cutting it close because by June 13, the 19th Congress will go on sine die adjournment, meaning whatever action the current Congress takes, it will be up to the 20th Congress to decide what happens next. The debate now is, can the 20th Congress legally continue an impeachment that started under the 19th?
Pwedeng sabihin ng 19th Congress, tatawid yan. Pero ang pasya ng 20th Congress, hindi tatawid yan. At i-dismiss nila. So, depende. Sa dulo, you have to understand, in Congress, plenary is supreme.
For Senator Risa Hontiveros and Minority Leader Coco Pimentel, the Senate must act now. They argue that these delays may already be a violation of law.
Jurisdiction once acquired is not lost but continues until the case is terminated. It is my humble opinion that the trial of the current impeachment case, now pending before the Senate of the 19th Congress, can cross over or continue from the 19th Congress to the 20th Congress.
Once we receive the articles of impeachment, trial by the Senate shall forthwith proceed. Hahatulan tayo ng sambayanan kung hindi natin ginampanan ang tungkulin na ito sa sambayanan.
Meanwhile, Congresswoman-elect and incoming House Prosecutor Laila De Lima told 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang that passing the responsibility to the next Congress is not an option.
That's part of their mandate na magkaroon ng impeachment trial. Hindi nila pwedeng sabihin at this point, hindi na muna kami mag-trial kasi hihintayin namin yung next Congress. Kasi hindi na pwedeng mag-cross over doon sa next Congress. Okay. So wala silang ganong option.
In the same program, Senator Francis Tolentino admitted that the Senate should have started the impeachment proceedings earlier. However, he argued the case is now de facto dismissed as the constitutional clock has been running since February 5 when the House impeached Duterte.
Yung constitutional clock started ticking February 5. You should read this together with the constitutional provision calling for a one case per year against the same respondent. So wala na po ito. Ang ibig sabihin po nito, de facto dismissed na yung kaso. Kasi mag-a-adjourn kami, sinigi-adjournment sa 13.
And whatever happens, Vice President Sara Duterte says she's ready to face the trial.
I was already preparing for it. Physically, I prepare for everything by making sure that I get the 8 hours of sleep and the vitamins that the doctors recommend that I take.
Meanwhile, former Vice President and Naga City Mayor-elect Leni Robredo visited the Senate on Monday as it resumed session. She was accompanied by barangay officials from Camarines Sur for a series of courtesy calls. The group met with Senate President Chis Escudero, who informed members of Naga City's Liga ng mga Barangay that the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council is pushing for the conduct of the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections in December 2025. Robredo and the officials also paid a courtesy call on Senator Raffy Tulfo. They discussed the possibility of continued support for Naga from both Tulfo's office and Raffy Tulfo in action.
And now to give more insights on the delay in the impeachment trial, we now have law professor and constitutional law book author, Attorney Jennifer Arlene Reyes. Good morning, Attorney, and thank you for joining us here on News and Views.
Good morning to you, two beautiful ladies.
Just like you, Attorney, no? But let's go to our top story this morning, the delay in the impeachment trial. What do you make of Senate President Cheese Escudero's judgment call to further delay this impeachment trial once again to June 11? Does his argument hold water, or do you think this is already a deliberate delay or going against what the Constitution mandates?
Yes, I believe, well, with utmost respect to Senate President Cheese Escudero, our Constitution is clear. It is unambiguous. The trial before the Senate shall forthwith proceed, meaning it must not be with delay. It must be without delay. It must immediately proceed and continue. So to further postpone these impeachment case, well, in my humble opinion, it violates the constitutional mandate provided by the highest law of the land.
Attorney, but you have Senate President Cheese Escudero saying they want to prioritize their legislative bills, right? They're trying to pass all these priority bills before the 19th Congress ends. But they will tackle, supposedly, this impeachment complaint by June 11. What does that indicate? I mean, you have the Senate President saying, of course, their duty as a Senate is to legislate bills. What does that? How are you reading this move?
Well, with respect to that opinion by Senate President Cheese Escudero, what I can say is that, of course, their primordial duty is to legislate. But when they say that their primordial duty is to legislate, it should not exclude their other duty, which is to be an impeachment court, which already they are. They are now the judges of this impeachment case. So by saying that their primary duty is to legislate laws, it does not mean that it is the only thing that they should do, especially if an impeachment case like this one is an urgent matter. And I believe it is also provided in their Senate rules, specifically under their Senate rules, that if the Senate schedule is full, but there is an impeachment case which is pending, they must prioritize the impeachment case.
Attorney Reyes, what's your take on some of our lawmakers saying that because the 19th Congress is ending, then there's no reason for them to actually push for the trial right now, since there is or could be a possibility wherein the 20th Congress would say, okay, maybe at the end of the day, we should not push through with the impeachment?
Okay, that's a good question, darling, because there is a confusion between the adjournment sine die of the 19th Congress and the term of the 19th Congress. So we must differentiate the two. When we say that the 19th Congress will adjourn sine die on June 13, it means that what will terminate are only their legislative functions, their legislative works. However, it does not mean that the 19th Congress will also cease. The 19th Congress, meaning they are still senators, they are still members of the House of Representatives until June 30 of 2025. And remember, this is also important to our countrymen who are listening right now. If it is a non-legislative function, which in this case, the impeachment is a non-legislative function, it can continue even after the adjournment sine die of the 19th Congress, because the adjournment only speaks of the termination of the legislative functions. To further simplify, since the impeachment case is a non-legislative function of the Senate, then it can continue even after June 13, 2025, until June 30, 2025.
Yeah, you're right, Attorney. I mean, you also have Senator Coco Pimentel citing the Constitution that under Article 11, senators would be acting as an impeachment court to hold public officials accountable. So that means they should continue their duty to continue with the impeachment trial in the 20th Congress and not base it on Article 6 kung saan back to zero yung kanilang legislative agenda, right? In the 20th Congress. But how crucial is it to trigger this process by June 11 before the adjourn on June 13?
Well, how crucial is it? It is quite crucial. Actually, since February, the time during which the articles of impeachment were transmitted to the Senate, they should have commenced already with the trial. Because the Constitution, just like what I mentioned a while ago, it is clear trial shall forthwith proceed. Well, as to the clarification, because there is also a question whether the 20th Congress also have jurisdiction with respect to this impeachment case, even if it is the 19th Congress which initiated the said impeachment case. In my humble legal opinion, there is no legal impediment why the 20th Congress can also continue with the impeachment case. To further simplify, the 20th Congress can continue this impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte because we have a Supreme Court decision. They only need to read the categorical ruling of the court in Pimentel Jr. versus Joint Committee of Congress. This is a 2004 case. The Supreme Court ruled therein that the membership of, a certain committee, well, in this specific case, the Senate, it may change. The membership may change. But if they are, performing a non-legislative function, they will retain their authority even if the new Congress commences. So in this particular case, even if the 20th Congress will commence on June 30 onwards, then they can continue and they still have the authority. I heard the statement of our esteemed Senator Tolentino. I know that he means well, but in my humble opinion, such interpretation of the law is incorrect. There is no impediment, and the 20th Congress can validly, actually, it has validly acquired jurisdiction already because it retains its authority, it retains its jurisdiction. Only the membership may change in the 20th Congress.
Attorney Reyes, if you have already read also, former President or Senate President Franklin Drilon also made a statement saying that this delay by the Senate to proceed with a trial is questionable. And according to him, if they want to, they can actually finish everything by June 30. What do you make of that? Is that even possible?
Yes. I mean, in layman's term, if there's a will, there's a way, right? But with respect to its legal aspect, in interpreting the Constitution, our senators, our legislators must always be reminded that every word of the Constitution was placed by the framers with a particular purpose. Hindi yan nilagay lang ng framers natin because of capricho or dahil pampaganda lamang. When the framers of our Constitution states a certain word, it has a profound and specific purpose. And no branch of government must defy or must disobey such constitutional mandate. It is a basic doctrine in constitutional law that even a congressional enactment, and this includes statutes or even their Senate rules, cannot trump on any constitutional mandate. So I agree with former Senate President Drilon with respect to that matter.
But attorney, here's what's interesting. You have Senate President Cheese Escudero using phrases like, if at all. So that begs the question, is there even an option for the senators not to conduct this impeachment trial, not to proceed? Can they do a vote and just say, let's dismiss this trial? It's no longer a priority in our agenda.
That's a very good question, right? Because well, as a constitutional law professor, of course, this subject matter is very close to my heart because the Constitution is the supreme law of our country, the highest law of the land. Even our highest officials cannot, defy what the Constitution says. If the Constitution says that the trial by Senate shall forthwith proceed, it is non-negotiable, in my humble opinion. Obey the Constitution first. Then also under the Constitution, they are permitted to promulgate their own rules with respect to the impeachment trial or impeachment case. So commence the trial now and then promulgate rules with respect to the impeachment later. I mean, they have all the resources. In my humble opinion, they have all the resources, they have all the time. So there is no reason why further delay must be done with respect to this impeachment case.
So, Attorney, delaying these proceedings or the proceeding could already be a violation of the Constitution, correct? As of like in this present time that we have already pushed this to a later date, they are somehow violating already the Constitution.
Well, in my humble opinion, yes, there could already be a violation of the Constitution. It is quite evident. That is why I also appeal to our good senators to obey the law, obey the highest law of the land. It is, it is your responsibility to the Filipinos to respect the Constitution and, respect the institution itself, because they will also be judged by the people with respect to their leadership, their political will. So I hope they will also follow the Constitution.
Right, because where's the accountability on, on that, since again, it is a mandate of the Constitution to immediately start the proceedings. Senator, if you can Attorney, if you can walk us through very quick. So what happens on June 11? June 11 is the start. They're saying the articles of the impeachment will be read. And then what happens after?
Well, after the articles of impeachment will be read to Vice President Sara Duterte and, of course, her team or her counsels, then the next step generally is, of course, for the Senate to issue certain orders or summons so that it will be sent to, of course, the witnesses, the counsels, and other people who are involved with respect to this case. Also, the Vice President will be given 10 days to submit her answer with respect to these accusations, which is particularly known as the articles of impeachment. And from then on, our senators will take an oath. We call this an oath of political neutrality, wherein they will avow to the Filipino people that as impeachment judges, they will, forget about party or political affiliations. They will be politically neutral, and they must base their decision on the evidence presented by the prosecution and the defense.
And finally, Attorney, earlier you did mention that senators delaying this impeachment trial already constitutes a violation of the Constitution. But who will hold them responsible? Is it the Supreme Court? Because petitions have already been filed, but if the Supreme Court does decide on this, does give its interpretation, it is an equal chamber with the legislative body of our government, right? So there's a separation of powers. Can the Supreme Court mandate or instruct the Senate to proceed with this impeachment trial?
Well, I do not want to preempt the decision of the court, but with respect to that question, I believe there are certain petitions for mandamus already filed before the Supreme Court so that trial may proceed. But of course, for academic purposes, if the Supreme Court, the highest court of our country, issues an order instructing the Senate to, without delay, proceed with this impeachment case, then of course the Senate must follow. This does not mean that the Supreme Court is superior to the Senate. It just means that the Supreme Court, by interpreting the Constitution, which is the highest law of the land, must be followed even by a co-equal branch of the government, which is the Senate, or the legislative department, rather.
All right, well, thank you very much for breaking down that process for us and for your insights. That was law professor and constitutional law book author, Attorney Jennifer Arlene Reyes. Thank you, Attorney.
Welcome.
New PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III steps into the spotlight with clear orders from President Marcos. Clean up the ranks and crack down on crime. Brian Castillo reports.
President Marcos and his new PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III were both in a cheerful mood at the turnover ceremony Monday. They even shared light moments on stage. But there's business at hand, the President's marching order.
Panatilihing mong malinis at marangal ang hanay ng ating mga kapulisan. Bilisan ang investigasyon sa mga kaso laban sa mga pulis na lumabag sa batas upang maibigay natin ng hustisya sa lalong madaling panahon.
Marcos also called for a focused crackdown on illegal drugs, instructing the PNP to work closely with the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. The chief executive also tasked Torre to restore the public's faith in the police force.
Kapag kailangan ng taong bayan, dapat may pulis na agad nagre-responde. Hindi dapat natatakot ang estudyante o ang mga manggagawa, motorista, magulang na maglalakad sa kalsada umaga man o gabi.
In response, Torre laid out his initial plans to address this with three core pillars: swift and responsive public service, unity and morale within the ranks, accountability and modernization. First is the implementation of the 3-minute emergency response time.
Huwag niyo na kaming hanapin sa mga presinto sapagkat kami ay nasa inyo ng mga telepono. Dial 911, darating kami sa loob ng 3 minuto. Yan ang gagawin natin.
This clock practice is not new to Torre. It was his brainchild when he was still head of the Quezon City Police District. A couple of years ago, the 3-minute response time made use of PNP technology, particularly the Integrated Command Control Center in Camp Caringal, to send radio calls to uniformed personnel in patrol cars and motorcycles. Torre hopes to duplicate and institutionalize this. And now that he's the top cop, Torre said he will also focus on strengthening unity and morale within the PNP ranks and ensuring accountability among erring officers.
Paramihan. Sige. Paramihan. Kung noon ay, make sure that everything that we do are within the ambit of the law. At ang aresto, ibig sabihin, buhay ang tao, dadali mo sa husgado.
Before being appointed PNP chief, Torre led the serving of the ICC arrest warrant against former President Rodrigo Duterte. And before that, the capture of Kingdom of Jesus Christ founder Pastor Apollo Kibuloy. Among those that are being watched closely under his term are more ICC warrants for those involved in the Duterte drug war. That includes re-elected Senator Bato de la Rosa, former President Digong's PNP chief.
We'll just cross the bridge when we're there. Kasi ang hirap ng pangunahan nun na pag may darating na ganito, may darating na ganito, paano pag wala?
Torre also called on former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque to come forward and face charges against him head-on.
Abogado naman si Harry Roque, di harapin niya. Kasi ito yung kaso na hindi mo na pwedeng dalhin sa kalsada o para rally. You really have to come and submit yourself to the jurisdiction of the courts.
Before and after he was appointed PNP chief, Torre had his fair share of criticisms. He does not expect it to end anytime soon, especially now that he is at the helm of the police force.
This is a free country. Kaya nga, yung mga bashers natin, natural yan. They are welcome to voice out their opinions, their criticisms. Walang problema yan. Tanggap natin yan.
For News 5, Brian Castillo. We are One News.
Now, in other news, Senator Bongo is set to preside over the hearing of Committee on Health and Demography today. Let's get details. We have mobile journalist Merimon Reyes joining us. Merimon, good morning. Can you tell us what's the agenda of today's hearing?
Good morning, ladies. A few minutes from now, magsisimula na talaga itong pagdinig ng Senate Committee on Health and Demography, which is spearheaded or pangungunahan ni Senator Christopher Bongo. And yung ilan muna sa nakikita natin dito na makakasama o dadalo ay sina DOH Secretary Teodoro Herbosa, even ang PhilHealth President and CEO na si Dr. Edwin Mercado. At yung ilan sa mga pag-uusapan nila, humuhugot ito doon sa panawagan ni Senator Go na magkaroon sana ng mas malakas at matitibay na effort mula sa mga ahensya para masiguro at lalong-lalo na sa PhilHealth, para raw masiguro na alam ng lahat ng mga Pilipino na sila ay miyembro nga ng PhilHealth under the Universal Healthcare Law at lalong-lalong aware dapat sila para sa kanilang mga benepisyo. Kaya naman, despite na may automatic coverage ng mga Pilipino, naobserbahan nga na kakaunti pa rin ang may alam talaga nito at marami ang hindi pa sila aware na sila ay rehistrado. Doon sa mga numero, only 27.8 million ang registered sa konsultasyong sulit at tama program na aligned dito. So to address this, Senator Go is pushing for the passing of the filed Senate Bill number 2983 o yung Proposed Philippine Healthcare Card Act of 2025. Dito, magkakaroon ng lahat ng mga Pilipino, lalong-lalo na yung mga members na ng PhilHealth ng ID. It's supposed to be simple, affordable, yet durable. So it's either in digital or in physical form para masiguro na this will operate under the National Health Insurance Program, or in our case, it's PhilHealth, and will be distributed via the local government units. Bukod naman doon, ilan pa sa pag-uusapan ay yung paglilipat ng excess funds ng PhilHealth sa Bureau of Treasury. Kasi last year, if we're going to recall, na-question din sa isa pang pagdinig yung 90 billion na excess funds ng PhilHealth na sinasabing sana raw ay nagamit pa sa pagpapalawak nga ng sektor. Lalong-lalo na pagdating sa healthcare services tulad na lamang ng dialysis programs, mental health programs, dental and other medical services. And the last time din, a few months ago, Senate Deputy Majority Leader J.B. Ejercito, he called on the attention of PhilHealth President and CEO Dr. Edwin Mercado nga at sinasabi na sana raw ay patuloy nang i-prioritize ng PhilHealth yung kapakanan, kaalaman din at kalusugan ng mga Pilipino at sana hindi raw maging profit-centered ang PhilHealth. At ilan pa sa mapag-uusapan din dito ay yung implementation of the Malasakit Centers Act kung saan mag-i-establish ito ng Malasakit Center sa lahat ng DOH hospitals, pati sa PGH, na magsisilbing one-stop shop for medical services, assistance, and even ang financial aid. Aside from that, yung Philippine Health Facility Development Plan of 2020 to 2040 ay mapag-uusapan. Then dito magkakaroon tayo at malalaman natin yung updates tungkol doon sa mga infrastructure and investment needs when it comes to our health facilities at kung meron na nga ba tayong nadagdag na specialty centers to cater yung specific na pangangailangang medikal ng mga Pilipino at kung nasisiguro ba na itong mga establishments, yung mga health facilities ay climate resilient at environmentally sustainable. Last but definitely not the least na mapag-uusapan din ay yung payment ng health emergency allowance. And going back doon sa COVID-19 pandemic, yung DBM at yung DOH, inauthorize nila yung pag-grant sa ating mga healthcare workers nga nitong mga compensation. So they kasama, bukod sa COVID-19 pandemic, yung iba pang public health emergencies, sinasabi dito na kapag ka-deployed ang ating mga healthcare workers sa low-risk areas, at least 3,000 pesos dapat ang maging kanilang emergency allowance. For medium-risk areas, at least 6,000 pesos. And for high-risk areas, at least 9,000 pesos. So ilan sa mga sisilipin natin ay kung nakompleto na ba yung pamimigay nito para sa ating healthcare workers and non-HCWs during the COVID-19 pandemic, or may kakulangan ba sa budget, lalong-lalo pa na meron namang excess funds ang PhilHealth. Ladies.
Marymon, kanina nabanggit mo nga si Dr. Edwin Mercado. Dadalo ba siya sa hearing today? Magiging resource speaker ba siya? Sino pa yung mga inaasahang dadalo ng hearing ngayong araw na to?
Yes, bukod kay dito nga si Dr. Edwin Mercado kasi so far nakita natin yung pangalan, yung nameplate niya doon kasama sila Secretary Teodoro and yung iba pang kawani ng DOH at ng PhilHealth. So far wala pa tayong nakukuhang impormasyon kung meron mga absent kasi around 10:30 ngayong oras na ito ay supposedly magsisimula na yung pagdinig. So right after this one, we'll check in agad kung sino na nga ba yung nandun at anong updates ang mabibigay nila tungkol sa medical sector.
Mga senators na present na dyan, Marymon, sino nang nandyan?
So far, si Senator Christopher Bongo yung ine-expect natin at makikita natin dito. Wala pa tayong ibang detalye kung sino pa nga ba ibang mga senador, pero isa rin yan sa mga abangan natin ngayong araw.
On the sidelines, Marymon, napapag-usapan ba dyan yung impeachment?
Nako, Pauline, yun yung wala pa tayong malapitan dito o mapagtanungan dahil mukhang busy rin ang Senado ngayon, lalo na sa mga susunod na araw at linggo para pa doon sa mga priority bills na kailangan pa raw nilang bigyan ng atensyon. Kasi natapos kagabi yung plenary session, marami-rami na rin na ipasa on third reading na mga batas. Kasama na nga dito yung free funeral services para sa ating mga kapatid na kabilang sa indigent sector at maraming iba pa. So for now, medyo tahimik pa dito sa Senado, bukod lamang sa pagdinig na gagawin ngayong araw ng Senate Committee on Health and Demography.
Alright, well, balitaan mo kami maya-maya. Maraming salamat. Thank you. That was our mobile journal, Merimon Reyes. And we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Department of Health Secretary Ted Herbosa is calling on President Bongbong Marcos to declare a national public health emergency due to the alarming rise in HIV cases in the country. According to Herbosa, the Philippines now has the highest increase in new HIV cases globally, with 57 new infections reported daily, marking a 500% spike. He raised alarm over the growing number of cases among adolescents, including a 12-year-old from Palawan. Herbosa stressed that HIV possess a more urgent threat than other health concerns like Mpox. Now, despite the surge, he reassured the public that HIV is now manageable with early testing and antiretroviral treatment.
Now to discuss the rise in cases of HIV in the country, we have Dr. Ronjin Solante. He is the chairman of the San Lazaro Hospital Adult Infectious Diseases and Tropical Medicine. Good morning, Doc, and welcome to News and Views.
Yes, good morning, Pauline and Riza.
Okay, Doc, tama po ba ay nire-request nyo po na gawin ng National Public Health Emergency ito nga pagtaas ng HIV cases, and how urgent is this? How alarming is this?
Well, unang-una, Riza, no? I fully support the call and the proposal of our Secretary of Health to the President to declare a public health emergency. Tayo na lang yung bansa sa buong mundo na pataas ang HIV cases natin, no? And this is despite na available yung mga gamot, available yung testing natin. Pero saan ba ang kulang natin? Saan tayo nagkukulang in terms of paano natin matugunan bakit tumataas at increasing ang HIV cases? And I think because of a public health emergency, there are measures na pwede nating paigtingin. It will strengthen our contact tracing. It will strengthen our ability to treat patients, especially for those younger patients. Pabata ng pabata ang HIV cases natin ngayon.
Meron po tayong nakuhang datos that there's a 500% spike, increase in the number of cases. Sa tingin niyo, saan po ito nanggagaling?
Well, Riza, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na monthly surveillance. No? Ito yung mga nagpa-positive, tapos ang data nito kinokolate sa Department of Health. So ibig sabihin ngayon, like for example, for month of March, no? 57 a day. So kung titingnan mo yan, 57 a day ang na-confirm na positive. Hindi pa yan kasali doon yung hindi pa nagpa-testing, kung nagpa-testing hindi pa na-report. No? And that's really a big number na 57 a day ang kaso natin. Totoong kaso yan, totoong mga pasyente yan. Tapos kung titingnan mo yung mga demograph nito, less than 30 years old, from 24 to 32 years old. In fact, meron tayong less than 15 years old. Now, ang problema dito sa 57 a day, only more than or one-third of these are the ones that are really nagpagamot. No? Ibig sabihin, yung remaining na population are still out, not taking the medication, and most likely spreading the infection.
Well, Doc, what's really concerning is that these rising cases include minors as young as parang 12 years old pa nga, Doc, no? That's quite alarming. Saan po ba yung mga lugar na pinakamataas yung mga cases po ng HIV?
Okay, so if we are looking at the regions, no, ang pinaka number one pa rin is National Capital Region, no? And this is followed by Central Luzon. And then you have Southern Luzon. And then the rest are Region 7, no? So that's Cebu area, and then the number 5 is the northern, western part of Mindanao, like Davao, Cagayan de Oro City. So these are the big, highly urbanized areas of the country where you also have a lot of this mga population going to work, no, opportunity to work. That's also the why there are a lot of these cases.
And Doc, what do you think are the factors that are driving this rapid increase? Ano, is it the lack of awareness? Is it the stigma surrounding HIV? Yung takot nila na magpa-test?
Well, magandang tanong yan, no? Kasi ang sa tingin namin, there's still a big stigma when you will be labeled as an HIV, okay? Magkaiba ang pananaw ng mga tao, especially in a country where majority is a Catholic, no? Kumbaga Christian, naniniwala na meron tayong ganito. But the practice among the positive, kung titingnan mo itong mga positive natin, mostly are males, ha? 90% are males, and most of them are males who have sex with males, no? So ibig sabihin, mga high risk activities to. So pag na-diagnose ka na meron kang HIV, and you will tell your friends or tell your family, ayaw nila yon kasi nga baka ma-stigmatize sila, baka itakwil sila, nandun yung fear. So hindi na sila magpapagamot, hindi na sila pupunta sa mga doktor, and when you see them, like what our experience here in San Lazaro, nandun na sila sa late stage ng infection.
But in a way, Doc, isn't it also, let's say, put it on a positive light na we have this spike because also there's more people coming forward for tests?
Yes, that's the other positive aspect, no? Kasi marami na tayong centers. Mayroon tayong mga tinatawag ngayon na every region merong different HIV treatment hubs, no? So these HIV treatment hubs, hindi lang 'to nagbibigay ng access doon sa mga gamot, but they're also offering testing for those who are exposed. So isa yan sa mga nakikita natin na maganda ang testing. Pero kung titingnan mo yung parameters kasi sa ginagawa natin, like how does a successful program be evaluated? Number 1 is yung mga naggamot na yung virus nila, suppressed na. Ibig sabihin, undetectable na because the drugs now are very good and very powerful so that the virus cannot anymore be detected while they are on treatment. Pero alam mo, 40% lang ang virally suppressed. Ibig sabihin, 60% of the population are not taking the medication. So saan ang pagkukulang natin dito? Saan ang gap natin dito? That's something that we need to address. Kasi ang gamot ng HIV ngayon, yung antiretroviral, is given free. Libre yan sa government. And there's also a PhilHealth funded package for that.
So would you say, Doc, our HIV testing status, our treatment status is in a good position right now to address this increasing number of cases?
Yes. I really will say yes because ang dami na nating treatment hubs and then the accessibility is there. Ang problema lang talaga na pag nandun na sila sa mga treatment hub, ang problema yung compliance, no? Hindi nagpa-follow up. Magpa-follow up lang yan mga first few months tapos mawawala na. Tapos ang worst niyan, while they are positive, they still continue to engage in high-risk behavior. So saan ba itong mga 57 na new cases a month? These are because of the high-risk behavior being done by those who are already positive.
Okay, so Doc, what actions can one individual take in order to protect themselves? Of course, safe sex is there. Pero ano rin po ang pwedeng gawin ng Malacanang under a national state of a public emergency kung mag-declare man nga para dito sa rising number of HIV cases?
Well, malaking bagay yun. Kasi pag mag-declare tayo ng public health emergency, maraming aspeto from diagnostic testing to prevention to treatment na pwede nating ma-strengthen, no? Because when you declare a public health emergency, kasama na rin yun doon na may additional budget, no, for all of those interventions. So sa tingin ko, mas malaking maitulong yan, no? And at the same time, itong mga gamot natin, may mga tinatawag na kasi tayong pre-exposure prophylaxis. Ibig sabihin, if you are negative yet, but you will be taking this medication and you'll go into high-risk behavior dahil meron kang pre-exposure na medication, you will not be getting the virus. So that's another area na pwede nating i-strengthen with a public health emergency.
Doc, balikan natin again. There were there are cases of minors as young as 12 years old. Being a parent myself, although my children are still very young, pero yung mga nakikinig sa atin ng mga magulang, what are the signs that they should be looking out for para, let's say, mas maaga nilang mabigyan ng payo, ng abiso ang kanilang mga anak? Should there would be a need for them to at least see a doctor?
Well, ang una siguro dito, yung how we have to teach our younger generation of safe sex, no? Mahirap man sabihin yan, but I think that the importance here is that when they are on a relationship, they have to know who their partners are, and then they have to be careful with their partners, and more importantly, how to protect them, especially for those individual na merong mga high-risk behavior. No? Now, if they cannot be prevented from doing so, then they have to test themselves agad. No? Hindi natin hintayin na magka-sintomas. No? Ibig sabihin, that's something na, meron akong na-italic or I have a high-risk behavior kagabi. So I need to go to the doctor. I need to be tested because I have this high-risk behavior. If I'm negative, I have to do the test again after 2 weeks or 1 month. And every time that they have this high-risk behavior, they need to be tested. Kasi ang experience natin dito, kadalasan sa mga pasyente na nag-positive na, they don't test themselves after a high-risk behavior. They only test themselves after realizing na, high-risk pala ako. So that's something that we need to implement or educate.
And Doc, aside from HIV, are there other alarming cases of other STDs dito sa bansa po natin?
Well, pagtaas ng HIV, tumataas din ang syphilis, tumataas din ang gonococcal infection. Kasi these are all infectious diseases related with multiple sexual partners. So ano yan, automatic yan, tumataas din ang mga sexually transmitted infections.
And I guess what's important to highlight here also, Doc, no, is accessible naman ang treatment and affordable. Sabi nyo nga po, no, libre yung treatment para sa HIV. So there's no reason that individuals who are high risk should get treatment or should get tested para hindi na nga sila makahawa pa ng iba. But finally, for me, Doc, do you have any suggestions? Paano po ba natin dapat i-educate ang public, lalo na yung kabataan? Does it start at home? Does it start in school? Should there be more information campaigns on social media? How should it be done?
Yes, I totally agree with you. No? So, kumbaga, we just targeting individuals. Kumbaga, kalahatan ang pag-educate natin sa mga bata, no? At the point na when they will be adolescent, meron yung mga education on how to prevent getting the infection and how to be educated in terms also of why you need to be protected because of the possibility that mataas ang STD sa Pilipinas, mataas ang HIV. There's always that risk na they can get that. No? So, school man yan or sa family man yan, I think all of those aspects of the area of education should also be explored.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. That was Dr. Ronjin Solante of the San Lazaro Hospital. Maraming salamat po, Doc.
Thank you and good morning.
Now, meantime, the Department of Health has also confirmed 3 Mpox cases in Cebu City, all of whom have since recovered. 5 suspected cases are currently under observation in local hospitals. In response, Cebu City Mayor Raymond Alvin Garcia held an urgent meeting with DOH Region 7 officials. The DOH Central Visayas office confirmed the virus was locally transmitted as none of the confirmed cases had any travel history. Mayor Garcia has since issued an executive order forming an interagency task force to help contain the spread of Mpox in the city.
President Bongbong Marcos has instructed the Department of Transportation and other concerned agencies to explore new technologies and submit a revised plan within a month to accelerate the EDSA rehabilitation project. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon said Marcos wants the new version of the project completed within 6 months to a year. The directive reflects Marcos's push for more efficient infrastructure work without compromising public convenience.
Gumawa tayo ng magandang plano. Baka naman, imbis na 2 taon, magawa natin sa 6 na buwan, magawa natin sa 1 taon, whatever it is. Pero sa ngayon, maliwanag na napakarami ang mahihirapan pagka tinuloy natin yung EDSA rehabilitation.
Because of this, the proposed odd and even traffic scheme for EDSA has been canceled, and discussions on waiving toll fees along Skyway Stage 3 and the SLEX Connector Road have been put on hold. However, the no contact apprehension or NCAP policy will remain in effect.
Pinapabago niya yung buong plano. Ang sabi ni Presidente, find a better way. Find a better way para hindi mahirapan ang mga kababayan natin. And the better way means not 2 years, but 6 months.
Right, don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us here on One News.
Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Philippines has a new champion in Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Mobile Journal Amy Atienza with the details.
New season, new champions dahil naiuwi ng Team Liquid Philippines ang kampyonato sa MPL Philippines Season 15. Sa bakbakang Best of 7 series na naigang Team Liquid kontra sa defending MPL Philippines champions na Onyx Philippines. Kinuha ng Team Liquid ang first match pero agad namang bumawi ang Onyx with a 2-1 advantage. Entering Game 5, muling nakuha ng Liquid ang kalamangan with a 3-2 score. But showing the heart of a champion, pinuwersa pa ng Onyx ang Liquid for a do-or-die Game 7. Para sa hinirang na finals MVP na si Alston Sanji Pabico, it was an all-or-nothing situation.
Hindi ko alam kung ano feeling ko kasi first time po namin mag-Game 7 and basta nasa isipan ko lang po ng Game 7, do-or-die moments na lang po talaga and yun lang po.
Special din ang kampyonatong ito para kay Team Liquid head coach Rodel R.C. Cruz. Pangako niya kasi na ibabahagi ang panalo sa mga naapektuhan ng 7 magnitude earthquake sa Myanmar noong Marso.
Yun sa ERG ko na Falcon Esports, meron po silang charity. So kapag na-receive ko na rin po yung prize ko, yung 50% po is dadirect ako mag-flight doon, then ibibigay ko po sa kanila ng buo.
Para naman kay Onyx Philippines team captain Super Prince Ramirez, the series was a learning experience, lalo para sa papalapit na Esports World Cup, kung saan ibabandera ng Team Liquid at Onyx ang Pilipinas para sa Mobile Legends Bang Bang.
Madami sila nilabas na bagong hero, bagong pattern ng hero, tas rotation versus sa amin, and yung mga mistakes namin. Yan.
Mobile journalist Amy Atienza po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
A Filipino gamer is also breaking barriers in the streaming community by playing with just one hand. Despite his physical challenges, he continues to impress fans with his unique skills and determination. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal, JF Rivera.
Kung gaming lang ang usapan, may pambato ako dyan. Paano? Kaya niya lang naman maglaro gamit ang kanyang isang kamay na may 3 daliri at ang kanyang paa.
Iba sa karaniwang napapanood nating streamer o gamer na ang gamit ay 2 kamay sa pag-glide ng hero o character. Iba rin talaga ang pinapamalas na skill ng 27 years old na si Kevin Maglaki o mas kilala bilang one-hand gaming. Literal na isang kamay at isang paa lang ang gamit niya sa paglalaro. Mula raw nang tumama ang pandemic, sinimulan na niya pumasok sa mundo ng streaming.
Nag-start ako nung pandemic. Same as everyone na na-board. Then naudyok ng mga tao sa paligid na wala pa nag-stream na gamit isang kamay at isang paa. So, nag-push sa akin na mag-try mag-stream.
Mayroong orthopedic disability amputation si Kevin. Isang uri ng kondisyon kung saan ipinanganak siyang iisa lang ang kamay at 3 ang daliri. Ang masakit, hindi raw talaga may iwasan na makatanggap siya ng mga negatibong komento mula sa social media.
Nakakatanggap pa rin naman ako ng bash like normally isang kamay, kulang daliri. Siyempre simula nung bata pa ako, sanay naman na ako maasar. So nung pinasok ko yung social media, hindi naman ako naapektuhan.
Pero curious ka rin ba kung paano niya na-discover ang ganitong skill?
So, ang nangyari nun, nag-try lang ako mawak ng yung console dati, before PS1. So, nag-try ako maglaro, pinagay ko sa paa, hinawakan ko ng isang kamay, naglaro lang ako. doon ko na-realize, kaya ko pala. So yun, ang mindset ko lang naman doon, kapag hindi ko pa nasubukan, hindi ko pwedeng sabihin na hindi ko pa kaya.
Di man daw naging patas ang mundo sa kanya, pinipili niya lang daw maging positibo at maging masaya sa kanyang ginagawa.
Just be yourself. Wag na wag kang makikinig sa sasabihin ng tao kasi ikaw at ikaw lang ang gagawa ng landas mo eh. Gagawin mo lang yung gusto mo kasi hanggang pagtanda, ikaw lang naman magkocontrol ng buhay mo, hindi sila eh.
Mobile Journal JF Rivera po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Ito naman, Gilas Pilipinas Youth is officially into the FIBA Under-16 Asia Cup after winning gold in the Siaba qualifiers. At sa PBA, the NLEX Road Warriors are back in the winning column after defeating the Phoenix Fuel Masters. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho with the details.
Sumakses ang Gilas Youth sa FIBA Under-16 Asia Cup Siaba qualifiers matapos pataubin ng Indonesia 70-40. Simula pa lang, mainit na ang Team Pilipinas, outscoring Indonesia 21-5 mula 41-20 sa halftime. Lumaki pa ang lamang ng Nationals by 34 points, 59-25. Pinangunahan niya ni Justin Halyare na nakapagtalaan ng 13 points, 4 rebounds at 2 assists. Dahil dyan, pasok na ang Gilas Youth sa FIBA Under-16 Asia Cup na gaganapin sa Mongolia ngayong taon. Balik winning column ng NLEX Road Warriors matapos talunin ng Phoenix Fuel Masters 105-95 sa PBA 49th Season Philippine Cup kahapon sa Smart Araneta Coliseum. Malaking tulong dyan ng team high 23 points and 9 rebounds ni JV Mocon, improving their record to 7-2. Muli namang nagtagpo ang Hinebra at Magnolia para sa Manila Clasico. Trinabaho agad ng Gen Kings ang kanilang panalo, 85-81. Neck and neck ang naging tapatan ng dalawang koponan. Lamang man sa dulo ng ikaapat, 71-61, hirap nang makalusot ang Magnolia sa mga sumunod na minuto. Nakapagtala si Japeth Aguilar ng double-double 17 points and 11 boards. Nag-improve ang record ng Gen Kings, 6-3 at vital daw yan para sa tsansang makapasok sila ng playoffs ayon kay head coach Tim Cone.
Well, it was a huge statement game for us, to us, not to them, but to us. We were playing for our playoff lives in that game. We put a couple losses together. Would have been tough to get back into the hunt for the top 4, but this keeps us firmly in the hunt for the top 4. Still allows us to control our own destiny.
Sunod na maghaharap ang Terra Firma kontra Rain or Shine at Phoenix kontra Northport sa Miyerkules, June 4 sa PhilSports Arena Pasig. Mobile Journal Denise Valdesancho po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
And the Las Filipinas men's team paid a courtesy visit to the Philippine Consulate in New York City on Monday. Consul General Senen Mangalile lauded the team for inspiring Filipinos abroad. The team also joined the 127th Philippine Independence Day Parade along Madison Street, riding a float alongside PBA Chairman Ricky Vargas, Vice Chairman Alfrancis Chua, and PBA Commissioner Willie Marshall. Ahead of the 2025 FIVB Men's World Championship in Manila, a Las Filipinas men's team was also featured on a Times Square billboard promoting the global event.
Nice. Well, before we go, let's congratulate our very own Angelo Castro for graduating magna cum laude from the Trinity University of Asia with a degree in broadcasting. She shared her journey on Facebook, revealing she once paused her studies to support her family as a working student. Now, despite the challenges, Angela never lost hope and continued pursuing her dreams while working and teaching. She said her story proves it's never too late to go after what you once put on pause. Congratulations!
Congratulations to Angela. So that's the reason why they're not here today.
Yes.
No? So today's her graduation. So congratulations, Angela. And it's proof, no, that it's really never too late to go after your dreams.
I don't know how she does it.
Right?
She's a mom on top of all of that. She's working, she's teaching. She finished school. Not only finishing school, just graduating itself is an achievement, but to graduate magna cum laude is unbelievable. Congratulations,
Power
Angela.
woman talaga yan, si Angela. So congratulations, Angela, for getting your degree.
Well, that wraps up for today, huh?
Yes, and that's it for News and Views this Tuesday morning.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Riza Diaz.
And I'm Pauline Verzosa. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.